Hello, my name is Ria and welcome to my channel, a place where we talk about all things productivity, self-improvement, and becoming a better you. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, and it is my absolute favorite productivity, business, self-help, non-fiction book, dare I say. It is called Deep Work by Cal Newport with the subtitle Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. Why is this book so important? This book, since I found it, has absolutely changed the way I approach my work, the way I approach studying while I was still in college, and literally changed everything I do. In fact, I have a meeting with my boss later today, and I'm going to tell him that I want to implement the rules in this book for our entire company. I work in a small startup, so I can do something like that, but we'll see if he lets me do it. But I think that speaks volumes to just how important this book is to me. This is gonna be part one of my videos on this book, Deep Work, and in this video, I'm gonna talk about the central thesis of this book. Why do you even want to work deeply in the first place? Like, why bother? Isn't the way you're working good enough? Well, no. And the reason for that, I'm gonna tell you shortly. First of all, what is deep work? What is this mythical beast? On the back of this book, it says that deep work is the ability to focus for long periods of time and without distractions. But inside the book, Cal actually gives a more detailed definition. And that is that deep work is any professional activity that you perform in a state of interruption-free concentration for an extended period of time, and that has the following three characteristics. 1, it creates new value. 2, it improves your skills or a skill. And 3, it is hard to replicate. So not everyone could do what you're doing. Of course, there's a big focus on professional work and career development, but this also just as much applies to studying, especially to studying. And so Cal keeps using the term knowledge worker. Knowledge workers are the ones for whom it is essential to learn deep work. Knowledge workers are the ones who this book is aimed at and all of that jazz. Who are knowledge workers? Knowledge workers are essentially white-collar workers, if you've heard the term. They're anyone whose professional ability, whose skill set and value to the economy is defined as the things they think about. So of course this would be somebody like an academic or a teacher whose job is literally to think. It's a little more broad than that. Any lawyer is a knowledge worker. Most doctors are knowledge workers. All doctors are knowledge workers. Any office worker essentially is a knowledge worker. So as long as your job revolves mostly around something you remember, some sort of critical thinking, anything you're able to do with your head over here, you're a knowledge worker. If you do something like construction or work in a factory or do manual labor with your hands, or if you're an athlete or a model or something, then you're not a knowledge worker. But everyone else, which means almost everyone watching this video, is a knowledge worker, and this applies directly to you. Cal spends a lot of the book explaining that almost all influential individuals throughout history, so almost all geniuses and people on top of their field, have one thing in common. Maybe they have more than one thing in common. They're probably all human, I think. But Cal says that all of them have the ability to work deeply in common. A lot of them have a history of going on long sabbaticals to some house in the countryside. What was that voice? Or to some other secluded location, or locking their office door and just working away for hours upon hours. All of them have the ability to do that. And if you're anything like me, which I think in this respect you probably are, and you've tried to sit down and just work deeply for like 5 hours, you've probably failed. How do I know that? I failed too, and actually Cal knows it too. Cal says that deep work has become extremely rare. Almost nobody knows how to do it. He thinks this is because we have so many distractions available to us. Of course, you've heard the spiel. Social media is bad, yada yada yada. But this is not just social media. This is also the availability of Netflix or infotainment sites like BuzzFeed, or even just the ability to go read a novel. Any sort of entertainment that is available to us on demand at any moment, that is a distraction. That is an available distraction at all times. Sounds obvious, right? But Cal says that because we have so many distractions available, and because there's so many distractions available at work as well, things like email, things like Slack, all sorts of messaging, even the ability to just call somebody at the drop of a hat. Because of this, we are all doing what is called shallow work, and that is work that can be performed in a distracted state, and that is actually pretty easy to replicate, so anyone can answer your emails. My 14-year-old brother could probably answer your emails as long as you teach him a few key phrases and email etiquette. Actually, he sends emails all the time. You probably don't need to teach him that. You don't want to be doing work that your 14-year-old brother could do. No offense, Peter, I know you're watching, I love you. But in your profession, especially when you spend 4, 6, 8 years getting your degree, you don't want to be doing the kind of work you can teach a 14-year-old to do. You want to be doing the kind of work that is extremely valuable. That is what brings value to your company, to your organization. That is the kind of work that will get you promoted, that will get you extra money. You want that. But even in 2012, so before all social media became really popular, McKinsey, the consulting company, found that more than 60% of knowledge workers' time, an average knowledge workers' time, was spent doing things like communication, so email, chatting, and Google searching, essentially. So that's not good. You're spending 60% of your time doing the kind of work that a 14-year-old can do. I think there's a problem. I hope you see it too. And the really worrying thing about this is our tendency to do a lot of shallow work essentially permanently reduces our capacity for deep work. So that bar of how deep we can work, it's slowly lowering and lowering and lowering and lowering the more we do shallow work and don't practice the deep kind. And that is why you can't just go to a cabin in the woods and work uninterrupted for 5 hours a day for 5 days a week, because you just don't know how to do that. Maybe some of you do, and then you don't need to watch this video, but most of us can't. And this is the promise of this book. You can get that level back up. You can train it. It's a skill. It's like a muscle. You can get there. And I will talk about exactly how in the next video, but I think what is really important to recognize here and now is that ability to discern when you're doing deep work and when you're doing shallow work. And knowing that deep work is so much more important and trying to increase the amount of deep work that you do. Just that awareness alone without any other practical tips will help you work so much better. No matter what you do, no matter if you're in school, in college, in your first job, if you're the boss of a company, it will help you. Cal gives 2 arguments as to why deep work is so valuable. Essentially, he says that our economy is an information economy. So that means most capital is information capital. Most of us are knowledge workers, and most companies and most organizations are valuable because of the knowledge that they produce, because of the information that they produce, the information that they exchange. Information is the most important thing in our current economy. This is why Facebook is $1 billion business. And number 2, because of the internet and because of globalization and all of these factors, competition has increased and completely skyrocketed. You're not just competing with people in your town, you're competing with everyone in your country, and you're also competing with people across the globe. If you live in the US, you're competing with people from India. If you live in India, you're competing with people from the US. And everyone else, Ukrainians like myself as well. We're competition. But you're competing with literally everyone from all over the planet. Because you're competing with everyone from all over the planet, you gotta be the best. Simply put, you're either the best or you disappear. You need to be the best at whatever you do. And for both of these things, you need to constantly be learning. You need to constantly be learning new complex skills, be they technical or not. And this isn't any job. Almost anyone needs to learn Excel these days. Almost anyone needs to be really good at PowerPoint. But beyond that, a lot of people need to learn something like video editing or coding or whatever else fancy software your particular job uses. There's a lot of people skills that you need to learn, which, by the way, all of which are skills and can be practiced and learned. You need to learn how to digest large amounts of information in a short period of time. For example, I recently had to become an expert on a certain aspect of Kenyan economy, and I had to learn that in a few days for my job. And next week they might ask me to learn something about Taiwan. I know nothing about Taiwan, but I'll have to learn. How do I do that? Deep work. The central thesis of Cal's book is that the ability to do deep work is becoming more rare at the same time as it's becoming more valuable. So as time goes on, if you develop this ability, you will be in a smaller and smaller pool of people that can actually do it, and that means that the supply is decreasing and the demand is skyrocketing. So you're literally in the best possible place to learn the skill. This is the best skill you can possibly learn no matter what job you do, as long as you're a knowledge worker. High quality work produced can be measured in a simple equation. It is time spent times the intensity of that time, which means to produce better work, you can either just spend more and more time, but that's not efficient if other people are quicker than you or if you burn out. And I burn out all the time. I need to take lots of naps and I need to rest a lot during the day. So that's not an option for me. I can't do 90, 100-hour work weeks. I just cannot. So how am I supposed to compete? Well, you increase the other side of this equation, quality of work. And you can always try to increase the amount of time you work. You might be the type of person that works 100-hour weeks, but what if somebody works 100-hour week and they work more intensely than you? They still win. You need to learn how to increase that intensity of time spent. That is how you produce better work. That is how you do it more consistently. There's no workaround. Cal also outlines that our natural tendencies are against this. When there are no clear outcomes or clear preferences towards deep work, we're gonna do what is easiest. So we're gonna try to seem busy, and we're gonna do things like communication and just sit in meetings all the time because it makes us feel productive. It's busy work. Busy work makes us feel productive when we're actually not accomplishing anything at all. We're gonna choose the lazy thing. We're all lazy, so that means we need to cultivate an effort, both on an individual level and within organizations, incorporating deep work, working more deeply, working more intensely, and producing more quality. And deep work is not only economically valuable, it's actually good for you. Cal talks about this, and I actually have this book here somewhere. One second. There is a concept called flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I learned to pronounce his name. He is a psychologist and a professor, and he knows what he's doing, and this is basically the main topic that he studied. And flow is the state of great enjoyment and satisfaction. He actually argues that this is one of the keys to a good life. And flow happens when you hit the great zone between not quite knowing something and also knowing enough to accomplish something, but you're improving your skills and you're accomplishing high quality work and you're striving for the best and you're just in the zone, people say. You're working and it's coming out well, but you have to engage your entire brain on it. Doesn't this sound like something a little friend of ours has been talking about? You gotta get on the train of productivity, of deep work train, deep work train. So that is it. That is my argument for why you should learn deep work and why this is one of the best books ever. And if you want to learn how to actually practically incorporate deep work into your life, please press the bell down below and subscribe, because I will have a new video coming out just about that very soon. Stay tuned, stay awesome. Bye-bye.